Welcome everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Rita Giuffrida. I am a researcher at Trust IT Services, and I am also leading the communication and dissemination activities for the BIODT project. And it is my pleasure today also to moderate the workshop that we have organized together with a lot of other people that you can also see in my next slide. So in the next 2 hours, our aim is really to share with you as many information as we can related to the prototype digital twin related to the ecosystem services. So the first part of this workshop will be a little bit more technical and a little bit more informative, if I can use this word, where you can hear from Thomas Martinovich from IT for AI, Jan Dick, Simon Rolfe, and Chris Andrews, and they will they will make some presentation about this prototype digital twin. And Jan will also be in touch with you for an interactive feedback session. After that, then, in the second part of our workshop, I will pass the floor to Kata Sarao from CSC. There instead will present a prototype digital twin, like a real prototype, so you can really see how it looks like. And after she's gonna present that, we would really like to understand from you, what are your thoughts of it? If you like it, if you don't like it, what in your opinion we should improve or we should keep? And any feedback is really welcome here. Then if you have any questions, I'm not sure if today we have a Q&A chat, but anyway, you can use the chat box that you have here on Zoom, and we will be pleased to reply to any questions you might have. With this, before then passing the floor to my colleagues, I would like just to remind you that in case you would like to learn something more about BIODT, you can watch some recordings of our previous webinars that we have organized. They are a little bit more general, and they also go into more details about the prototype digital twins or research infrastructures we are cooperating with. And feel free also to follow us on our social media channel. And in addition to this, we would like also to officially launch to you our newly released training platform, which will also host the training that we are having today. So here on this page, you can find the link to access it, and you can find different tools, materials that where you can really understand a little bit better what is a BIODT overall mission. And with this, actually, I will pass the floor to the first speaker of today, that is Jan Dick, and over to you, Jan. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Welcome, everyone. The day ahead of us is very definitely interactive, as Rita explained. First, I was supposed to introduce myself. I'm a senior social ecologist at the UK Centre for Ecology and Hydrology, and this is the office behind me in the background. The rainbow is because we very often get rain, but then we get sun as well. So it's kind of typical of Scottish weather. The case study you're about to hear is definitely focused in Scotland because we started our data collection and work there. But the thoughts that we will have, we hope, will be relevant to all of you working in any part of the world eventually. We have ourselves only used the data from ELTER and GBIF, but LifeWatch and DISCO are also our eyes, which we are working with. So the team is large. A digital twin is quite a complex process, and there are many, many different elements to it. Today, you'll only hear from 5 of the people listed here, but there are even other people working on the digital twin as well who are experts in sustainability or in FAIR principles, etc. So I will not say any more just now, and we'll crack on. Thank you, Rita.
Thank you, Jan. And with this, actually, I will pass the floor to Thomas Martinovich from IT for AI. He's gonna make the first presentation of today, and in particular, he will make a focus on the ecosystem services prototype digital twin. So Thomas, I believe that you can also share the screen, and if possible, you can also mute yourself. Perfect, we can see your screen. Thank you. Okay. We cannot hear you, actually.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect, loud and clear. Perfect. Thank you, Thomas.
Great. Okay, and you can see the screen, right?
Yes,
So,
thank you.
yeah, thank you. So hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Tomasz Martinovic. I'm from IT for Innovations, National Supercomputing Center. I will introduce this vision of a digital twin for the cultural ecosystem services and also present some of the roadblocks, the state where we are. And after me, then you will have more deeper technical details. So I will start right off the bat with what the digital twin is and what it is in the biodiversity. I think many of you already follow us for some time, so you probably heard this already. But for those who don't, uh, I guess you might have heard sometimes this word digital twins, and mostly probably in relation to industry, where you can imagine some factories with many sensors that are creating this really digital image of the factory, let's say. And now we are trying in this project to somehow move it also in the context of biodiversity. But in our case, to be honest, we need to be a little bit flexible in, I think, interpreting and saying what it is, because we cannot like put sensors of the animals or all the trees or everything, all the nature itself. But we can still observe nature in some way, quite often, even periodically, and quite deeply, I would say. So we are trying to now connect all of the different data sources available to us, the models available to us for representation of different use cases in biodiversity studies, and put these all together into these great things that we are now calling the digital twins that should be kind of solving these specific issues. And one important thing is like we are not trying to create, at least not at this point, one great model of the whole biodiversity. We are actually starting a little bit smaller with very specific digital twins uh, that serve the purpose for different use cases. And the long-term vision is to then start trying to start coupling them in some way, but this is still a little bit further in the future, to be honest. So in our case, most of these prototype digital twins started, on the laptop. And they were really small models for really, really specific purpose. But in this project, we are trying to leverage the power of the supercomputers, trying to scale up these models, trying to make them more precise or to handle more data, and so on. So we have these different effects here, like really starting on the laptop, then trying to go higher, more precise. And once again, it depends on the digital twin. And for example, in the context of the cultural ecosystem services, we are now trying to figure out how we could go not for one national park where we started it, but better we are able to scale up to whole of Scotland, so whole of UK, whole of the world possibly. But of course, there are some costs to scaling up, and my colleagues will kind of be a little bit talk about that later on. But the important thing here is that we are really have really powerful digital infrastructure for these digital twins that we are trying to efficiently leverage to provide new insights for people. And now I will get to these cultural ecosystem services. So some of you might wonder, some of you will know, probably heard about it already since you are here. So the cultural ecosystem services is one part of the ecosystem services science that is defined as non-material benefits that people obtain from ecosystems through spiritual enrichment, cognitive development, reflections, recreation, and aesthetics experience. So, in my opinion, this is quite difficult science, in a way that it's not exactly that quantitative as some of the others, but we still are able to make it quantitative, and we are able to model some things. We are able to ask people, but it is also there are many social aspects to it, let's say. And the motivation for this particular prototype digital twin was to support personalized access to recreationalists and tourists using the study area based on their preferences. What does this actually mean is that, uh, let's say you would like to visit a Kangaroo National Park, and then you are planning your trip, and you would like to have get the most of it, right? And this is one of the parts of this prototype digital twin that it should allow you to get the most of it, but not just getting the most of it, because for that there are other services that probably could help you with that. But also it should allow you to, for example, understand uh, or make the trip not just worthwhile for you, but also uh, somehow, let's say, safe for the biodiversity and all the species that are there. So you do not, I don't know, disturb the animals that are in some kind of critical phase of their year, and so on. So it should add some more information, and it should also uh, make it available to you to share these experiences, to make you kind of a the citizen scientist, where you can put also some information back to the digital twin for the others. And the other part for this is also of the motivation is support the planning and management of cultural ecosystem services. And there is the other part. So you are not the visitor, but you are actually the manager. And then you can track all of these things I was talking about. You can track there are different species, how people actually use different recreational uh, things that are there, and they can better, decide on how to take care then of this recreational aspect of national parks, also in relation with the biodiversity and the protections of the biodiversity. So in when we were planning or deciding how what to do this prototype digital twin, we actually put out several user stories for us. So we kind of simulated the usage and what it should be for. And I will present two of those user stories now. So the first one is for the recreationalist, and the expected use of the prototype digital twins for the recreationalist is that you will, let's say, access the web service that we are working on, and you will find the best places that will cater to your needs. And for that one also, we are handling these personas, where we somehow have the preferences of the people defined, and you can try to get the best persona of yourself and really find, okay, these areas are the best for me. Help plan the itinerary based on this, and help also to be have, to be like responsible with this recreation, as I was saying before. So you are sensitive to the conservation zones, to the species and everything around this. So that's one of the user stories. And the second of the user stories would be like this national park manager, where the expected use is uh, that the managers will access the data provided by the digital twin, and they would analyze, okay, how people are using the different parts of the national park. There are the high value areas. Should we focus on these, or should we probably change, the conservation places based either on the work of the people, how they use that, or on of probably species that they observe. So these things might change because, for example, people start using some areas more, and then the species there, just change the distribution. They move somewhere else, and this is very dynamic process that is hard to track. But we hope that also through this prototype digital twin, this would be, more automated and more efficient and helpful to them. So then the decisions would be made based on also the evidence taken in this prototype digital twin. Yeah. So the current state is now that we currently have created the prototype app, the web application with the fixed groups of these personas I was speaking about for recreational users. We already created some computational workflows that leverage the Lumos supercomputer for computing these models, so they can be done really in a really fast and efficient way. But there are also a lot of challenges ahead of us. So we are still figuring out how to cater more user types, whether we could make it, a little bit more interactive and more flexible to cater to as much people and as precisely as we can. We are still working out the user interface design. This is something we would like to also talk about with you today. We are still working on adding new data sources, so we can, as I was saying, scale up and also be more precise. And there's this personalization issues where we were thinking that people would actually be able to store some of the data, for example, the trips they would be planning, but this also requires some authentication, figuring out where we store the data, how to make everything legally correct. And we are also in part of the BIODT is that we are working on being the FAIR compliant. So FAIR is that everything should be like findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. This means that all the data we produce in the prototype digital twin should be possible to find and reuse by others. So these are the challenges we are at right now. And I would like to thank all of the members of the prototype digital twin team. So you can see them listed here. I hope we did not forget anybody. I think there are also some other people helping on consulting us. Thank you for your attention. Then I will give the word back to Rita.
Thank you, Thomas, and thank you also for giving a preliminary introduction to this prototype digital twin. Actually, now I will, as a next step, I'm pasting in the chat a link that I invite all the attendees to click on it, as we're gonna go through a little bit more interactive session now. I will also share my screen so that you can also follow what we're gonna ask you to do now. And hopefully my screen is visible to you all. So actually we have created a survey, and in this survey you will find different questions. Now, the type of questions that we're going to ask you are really related to the presentations and the information that you will gather today. So for example, the first question that actually we will ask you is really related to what Thomas has just presented now. What we would like to focus on here is that we're not going to collect any personal data. It is just a way of collecting feedback so that we can understand a little bit better if we are moving in the right direction. So if all of you have actually accessed this link, you should find this first page that I am sharing now. And I ask you now to move to the next page, where you can also find the first question, the first two questions actually. Okay, maybe I will read them, and then maybe Thomas, if you would like also to maybe clarify anything about this question, feel free. Actually, the first one is very generic, and we would like to understand how achievable do you think our vision for the digital twin is? And you can actually scale your question. You can reply from 0 to 9. Actually, right now, you cannot see exactly what the other people are replying. But at the very end of this workshop, when there will be also the feedback session, we can also start to share with you some preliminary feedback from the feedback that you are giving us. So yeah, it is very easy. So here you just have to press the number. And if you can please also elaborate on why you have selected the number above. So why 0 or why 9? We will just keep this open for a couple of minutes. I don't know, Jan or Thomas, if you would like to jump in and maybe add something here. If not,
I would just like to say that we really welcome as full an answer as you can. What you think the problems are likely to be, the challenges, etc. Why you selected a low number. This feedback. I am old and I'm more interested in the transdisciplinary science with each year. So we want products and the work that we are doing to be real world relevant. And in order to be real world relevant, we need to know what the real world is thinking. And I know that many are in this call are involved in this field, but some are not. And therefore, I hope that the range of opinions that we receive will help focus us going forward. Thank you, Rita.
Thank you, Jan, also for this clarification. Then maybe, Jan, do you want me to move to the next question, or do we want to go to Simon and Chris' presentation instead?
Whatever you think is best. Is
Okay.
everyone happy that they have got into the questionnaire? We haven't specifically asked that question of the audience.
Oh, right, yes. I think that people are in.
Perfect.
Okay. So what we ask is actually to not reply to all the questions, because we will ask you other questions after other presentations. And then maybe I will stop sharing now and I will pass the floor back to actually two speakers now that are Simon and Chris. They will actually explain you how two models that are inside ecosystem services prototype digital twin work. And then after the presentation, we will ask you other questions. So be ready, or also for the second part of the test. And Chris, over to you. Thank you.
Great. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so thanks for the introduction, Rita. My name is Chris and I also work at the UK Centre for Ecology and Hydrology. And I'm based out of what is today a rather windy Scotland. Oh. Sorry, I seem to be having a delay on the slides moving. Has it moved slides for you?
We are still seeing the first slide, but I believe that the second one should come shortly.
Right.
Yeah, now we can see the second one. Yeah.
There's a slight lag there. Apologies, everybody. Okay, so just to summarize our digital twin a bit, this wire diagram shows the connected elements of our digital twin. Please don't worry about trying to memorize the content. I really just wanted to highlight that it's made up of two ecosystem service models. I'm going to cover the recreational potential model part now, which is highlighted in red on the diagram. And then Simon's going to talk a bit about the biodiversity model. So as biodiversity is particularly relevant to the cultural ecosystem services, what we have done was to adapt an existing recreational potential model whose parameterization captured elements of at least 4 recognized cultural ecosystem service classes, including for the biotic and abiotic cultural services. The aim was then to integrate this with biodiversity. So the 4 recognized ecosystem service categories the model is currently parameterized for are active and immersive interactions. So in this example image, hiking in the mountains and what is fairly unpleasant weather. And then for passive or observational interactions, so for example, wildlife experiences and visiting different habitat types. And then abiotic characteristics of nature that enable active or passive physical and experiential interactions. A good example of this can be rivers and streams. And then finally, we've got the abiotic characteristics of nature that enable intellectual interactions. And in this example, we were discussing long-term scientific monitoring within a nature reserve. Put simply, the recreational potential model is a multiple lookup model, which outputs as a raster map with a recreational potential value for each pixel. Basically, this just means it just adds together values from multiple input data sets and then displays that in a single output. The first stage is to agree on and define the geospatial input data sets which make up each model component. I'll be coming back to the model components shortly. A user then would score the features in each input on its suitability to provide opportunities for outdoor recreation, and they'd score that on a 0 to 10 scale. A user could be an individual or an expert working with recreational user types, or a predetermined persona. At this moment in the development, we're only using this persona approach for simplicity reasons. Currently have 2 personas parameterized, but I'll move on to that shortly as well. There are also some features which are known to have a disproportionately strong draw to recreationalists. And this is things like path networks or water, such as rivers and lakes. To represent these features, we also give them a proximity value that goes down as the distance from that feature would increase. The inputs and components are eventually normalized and summed to provide this single mappable pixel value between 0 and 1. So to give an idea of how that scoring works, this table contains information on a digital elevation model of slope. And the angles were grouped into several steepness categories. These were then scored for their recreational opportunity by 2 persona recreational types. Firstly, a soft recreationalist, which is somebody who might do, say, short trips over fairly easy terrain or on maintained trails. And then also for a hard recreationalist, which is maybe a climber or a mountaineer who's drawn to more difficult or remote terrain. As you can imagine, a soft recreationalist sees greater opportunity in easier slopes and ultimately scores these as being greater recreational opportunity than, say, the hard recreationalist did. Ultimately, we would love to make this parameterization available at the individual user level rather than a persona to give a truly personalized output. That means a user could then use a tool to identify areas which are particularly suited to their own recreational needs. So I mentioned the model has 4 main components, each of which utilizes multiple available geospatial data sets. The first part is the suitability of land to support recreational activities. This is essentially a measure of the degree of naturalness. And we parameterize this with things like land cover maps and areas of high natural value farming and things like that. The second component is features that influence the potential capacity to provide recreational opportunity. Now, this is split into 2 parts, natural features and infrastructure features. The natural features could be a digital elevation model, as I've just shown you, of the terrain, or geological formations, or maybe vegetation classifications. The infrastructure features influencing the potential provision could be access points or path networks. And then finally, the last component is water. The proximity to water, be it lakes or rivers, has been shown to be especially important for recreation. So this is captured separately from other features. This is just 2 example outputs for the soft and hard recreationalist. You'll see, not unexpectedly, that the hard recreation places more value, which is darker green on areas on the map, on the central high plateau of the Cairngorms, and also in other remoter areas. Soft recreationalist puts more value on accessible valley bottoms and riparian areas, which you can see more around the perimeter. So the pDT was focused on the Cairngorm National Park, but we're already thinking about how we upscale this to the whole of Scotland, or potentially even further afield. This has its challenges, particularly in relation to input data and things like computational resources. For example, with the input data, you need to consider whether specific data sets are available at the scales you need. Several of our Cairngorm data sets were specific to that area. So we need to think about analogous data sets that might cover the entire region of interest or the whole of Scotland. You might also have highly specific data sets or features of data sets, which can be important for specific recreational potential in your local area, but also doesn't apply to larger areas. For example, in a small area, you could score a river's potential for recreation by, say, its name and through local knowledge of its characteristics. But when you try and upscale the model to larger areas, which may contain many rivers, this becomes entirely impractical. So a different set of more generic scoring criteria are required. For example, you might score rivers only by their size. This is an example of a reduction of fidelity. Now, fidelity is quite tricky to summarize, maybe, but it's probably best described as a measure of the realism of the model, or how well the model matches the real world. Basically, the more you zoom out, the less you see. And I think that takes me to the end.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, so as we were also doing for the first presentation, now we would like also to ask you a couple of questions. Maybe, Chris, I will share the screen and maybe I will ask you to comment the questions so that in case, you would like also to add something on top, you can. Actually, for people that are joining online, I am sharing the same link that I was using before. I just moved to the 3rd question. So, Chris, if you like to comment, please.
Yeah. So the question is basically, I just mentioned about the model fidelity as we upscale. So we're interested in what thoughts people might have on what might be appropriate, an appropriate scale for a recreational user. And think of this, we've got a scale here of 1 to 5. 1 would be a hyper-local scale, and 5 might be a global scale. And then if you can give some more information on why you think a particular scale is better suited to a model like this, that would be great.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Chris. So here we will give you, let's say, a couple of minutes. As I was saying, you cannot see the replies now, but at the very end of the workshop, we will also share with you the main results and the feedback that you were sharing with us. Now, just to not lose time, I will just ask Simon maybe to start preparing his slides, because actually Simon will continue on the presentation that Christopher just made, and he will present instead a second model that it is always used to build the ecosystem services prototype digital twin. Okay, we see that actually you're moving your screen. Okay, now we can see your screen. And
okay, can you hear me
perfect.
all right?
Perfect, thank you.
Right, thanks for that, Rita. Yeah, so my name's Simon, and I'm a data scientist at the UK Centre for Ecology and Hydrology. and I'm going to be talking to you about the biodiversity model that sits within the prototype digital twin that we're building. So first, let's consider, why do we need to care about biodiversity in the context of cultural ecosystem services? And I think it's clearly a logical next step, once we've mapped the recreation potential, to then go into more detail about thinking about where the species are and when can you observe them, because they provide, the biodiversity itself provides us a key cultural ecosystem service in terms of visitors to the national park or the local or whatever area they're in, observing, say, key species of interest. So in the Cairngorms, we have this sort of the Cairngorms big five with the eagles, squirrels, otters, seals, and deer. There's also species that really are important for capturing the appeal of a habitat. For example, the heather that you might find on some of the upland areas in the Cairngorms National Park, that's obviously very key to the cultural ecosystem services that place offers. And there are other, biodiversity can also offer different cultural ecosystem services in terms of other sensory experiences. For example, bird song from more common birds such as robins, illustrated. So we want to be able to put biodiversity on top of our recreation potential model. And this again is just revisiting this diagram, that again, don't need to worry too much about details, but you can see alongside the recreation potential model within our digital twin architecture, we've got this biodiversity model, which has its own model and its own data flows. The model that we are using to predict where biodiversity is present is a quite standard approach known as species distribution modeling, where essentially you are predicting the species distribution based off the environmental data and what species records you have. Its purpose is then to understand and predict and manage species habitats. We've got sort of four key components. We've got the environmental data. This, for example, captures the type of habitat or land or the elevation or the climate or the weather. And then we have the species data, which is the occurrence of that species as recorded by surveys or citizen science, for example. We then have models which then correlate between those two different data sources. So looking at whereabouts are the species being observed and what environmental niche are they filling in, and then you predict into the rest of the space where you don't have the data to be able to produce these predictive maps of species distributions. And this diagram just outlines that on the right. We've got two different environmental variables here. We've got rainfall and altitude, and at different grid cells within this space, that environmental variable is suitable or unsuitable for a target species. And then we can also see where the species has been observed by the coloured in grid cells. We combine that to then predict where, despite we not having actually any data there, we expect the species to exist in that location. And the data that we're using, at least within the Cairngorms example, but also widely applicable beyond that, is we're using GBIF as our main research infrastructure, but also using ELTA, where GBIF is a huge data repository that pulls data from a variety of different data sources. So, for example, the iNaturalist citizen science recording app data gets directly put onto GBIF. But there's also other data sources which are highly relevant for the Cairngorms National Park in terms of NatureScott and Nesbret, an iRecord, of which data ends up in the ambient atlas, which is a sort of intermediate publisher, and which then publish their data again to GBIF. But we're pulling data directly from GBIF, at least in the first instance. In terms of environmental data, we're using a variety of different sources in terms of the UKCH land cover map, and also using Google Earth Engine as the catalog for accessing the environmental data such as climate and elevation. And this is where we're running species distribution models on the Lumi supercomputer. And then from the models, we actually have two outputs. So firstly, we have this predictive distribution of where we expect the species to be, with the color indicating the probability of presence. So in this example, green is probably high probability, and the orange being low probability. But then we also can pull out these layers of model variability, which indicate where actually we need to get data from next. Because if we just simply are predicting species, we have model outputs, we have predictions, and you could class them as, say, a digital replica. But should we wish to move towards a digital twin, we need to be building in these feedback loops to keep our replica up to date. So we're going to provide many ways that people can interact with the model outputs, of which more detail will be explored in the latter half of the section. But you'll be able to export the species distribution models. We're also doing a lot of work in terms of the fairness of our outputs. FAIR is an acronym describing how we can make data findable, accessible, interoperable, and usable. And yes, as I was saying, a key question that we really like to get your feedback on is this idea of synchronicity. So taking a simple workflow, we pull some data, we produce a model. That's great. But in terms of thinking about this digital twin paradigm, synchronicity is this really key component. And what we mean by synchronicity in this is maintaining real-time alignment or near real-time, or between the virtual model and its physical counterpart, to then support decision making. And you can kind of see on this feedback loop on the diagram where we've got some data, we've then fit a model, we identify areas of uncertainty, sampling the data. So on one hand, we've got the feedback loop, which is incrementally improving our models. But in terms of synchronicity, how often do we need the models to be rerun? Do we want weather forecasts sort of level where we can have these near-term and also long-term predictions? Or actually, in terms of biodiversity modeling, this is not a necessity. Synchronicity is not our key concern. We're more worried about reliability or fidelity. So yeah, that's the question that I've provided in the questionnaire, and it'd be great to get your feedback on in terms of required synchronicity in order to use these tools for supporting decision making.
So thank you, Simon. As Simon was mentioning, I mean, in the questionnaire that I was presenting before, I will copy and paste it again here in case you have missed the link. I mean, we have a specific question also on the synchronicity. And let me also share the screen again. Okay. So always, I mean, we are actually always at point 3 of our short survey. And feel free, I mean, also to add any inputs and insights here. Okay. And as soon as you do, then we will also collect this feedback, and we will present it at the very end. And now maybe I will, if I'm not mistaken, we are even a little bit before the scheduled time, which is not bad at all. And I will actually maybe ask Kata to start preparing yourself, so then we can also move to the let's say to the real presentation of the digital twin, so that people can also see how it looks like. And then after that, we will also look forward to hearing your thoughts and your feedback on that.
Thank you, Rita. Let's see.
Perfect. We can see your screen.
Good, and I guess you can hear me also.
Yes, exactly.
Good. So hello everyone and greetings from Finland. My name is Kata Saraho and I am working in CSC, IT Center for Science, as a software developer. I've worked in CSC for about a year now, and I joined BIODT in January, and it has been quite interesting journey so far. In BIODT, I am part of the interface development team, and today I am here to talk to you about how should users interact with the pDT in the ecosystem services pDT interface. Sorry, I have some kind of delay here also. Yeah. Okay, let's start from the beginning. The reason I originally jumped to BioDT project was to help with the design of the technical interface. After some observing and research, I noticed few clear problems standing out. Or maybe not problems, but things that needed deeper development before jumping into the designing itself. The technical platform sure was and still is technical and has great amount of implementations to start playing around with the digital twins. The version we started working with wasn't particularly hard to understand, but it was missing some kind of guidelines and logic, and visually it was pretty blunt. So, one of the goals is to make the new interface more simple to understand, but keep the information presented keep the information presented still valuable. The blunt visuals also meant that the service didn't quite like it would be connected to BioDT. The pages needed to have more structure on how things would be presented, which means adding more coherency. Solution to that is to create little templates, maybe a color palette, and also think typography. One thing that walks hand in hand here with the design process is the user-centric design and thinking. It wasn't really lacking here in this BioDT or others, but it was maybe a little forgotten. Ecosystem services had made user stories and thought about the possible user personas, but it wasn't so clear case with everyone else. Luckily, doing some workshops and new documentation, it should fix this problem, but it also should bring understanding and knowledge to the pDT leaders, developers, and other parties to know, maybe understand why is it important to take the end users into consideration when creating future pDTs. And hopefully after this presentation, you have gained something about this topic too. Well, now that we have started talking about the end users, we could dive more into the users of ecosystem services pDT. One important aspect when designing a product or a service is to understand who the users are. Creating user personas and user stories makes some kind of base for this. It's also important to understand that one user type doesn't cover all features in humans. For example, we can say that service X is created for researchers. Well, I think every one of us here can now think of a researcher, but when we would write them down, they would vary in many ways. But it would be like something to start the like development process with. In this pDT, there are two user types that we think this pDT would serve the best. First one is the recreationalist. Recreationalist is a pretty open variable, but the openness covers more users than a very detailed one. The second one is in a way much more detailed, the national park manager. We will go into the details later in this presentation, but this user was chosen because the pDT would be good for someone that needs access to more advanced data, like tracking, as my colleague Thomas said before. Of course, it would be amazing if this pDT would serve everybody, but for now, we continue our trip with these user types. So, the recreationalist. Our recreationalist is an adventurous guy, but responsible towards the nature. He or she wants to explore around, maybe collect data about what they have seen, and spread the news to others. But all recreationalists do not have the same physical condition. In this case, physical condition is spread into two options, hard and soft. Well, what does the recreationalist want? What are the requirements and what do they want to do in this pDT? Because recreationalist knowledge on using computers and digital interfaces vary, it should be made so that the one with least knowledge should be able to execute the wanted tasks. Second, because recreationalist physical condition varies, there should be options to make the information compatible. Also, all recreationalists don't want to see the same biodiversity, but maybe more specific type, like bugs or birds. People are very curious about data nowadays. Many, even some of you here, have smartwatches or the Oura Ring that will show what is going on in your body. In this pDT, we would like to offer users to see data about the path or recreational place that they have chosen to go explore. Next up is the National Park Manager. I think managers in general might want to make sure that there is business where is people. So in this case, the manager would like to see information about popular recreational spots, and then go there to offer recreational services. Also, one manager would like to make sure that some places are being sheltered, maybe because of endangered species living there. Usually, the managers have to report to someone or make choices based on up-to-date evidence. To make those evidence-based choices or policies, the pDT needs to provide real-time data that is also reliable. To sort out options, there needs to be a feature to filter out the not needed information. To share the data or information, there should be an option to take it out. Also, there could be information that needs to be uploaded so that it will inform others. To access more advanced features that could maybe be more confidential data or share information from trusted source, the person needs to log in to the service. That's it about the users. As stated before, I have made some designs of the possible interface. Remind you that the design process is still going on, so all the features are not yet visible here. But I will first explain the features in the pages, and then we will see the action in a prototype, and we can look them up more closely. After showing the prototype, you will get to answer the questions in the breakout rooms, but we will get back to that after this. So first up, info page. The info page is to tell the user what is this pDT about. To start exploring, the user needs to press the start button or navigate with the tabs under the header. So I'd say we start the exploring. Second one is the recreational potential. A recreational potential answers that the user need to sort out stuff based on the user's physical condition. The map knows the area and what kind of recreational level it is suitable for and shows the potential of seeing biodiversity in general. Then it would be the biodiversity mapping. The mapping answers the need to see more detailed information about existing biodiversity in a specific area. User is able to sort out what kind of biodiversity they want to see. The appearance will be shown on the map, and there will be a list of showing the species. Last one is the road planner page. This part is not yet part of the minimum viable product, but it would answer the need to see and explore users' own data. This part is kind of open to what do you think there should be, and we will get back to that in the breakout rooms. But the inspiration for this has been taken from other adventure apps, such as Strava and hiking projects. This version would show a diagram, statistics, and throw some species that you have possibly encountered on your trip. User would also be able to share the report to someone themselves or to another institute. Great. Now that we have covered all the features, let's try out the prototype. I will have to shut down the screen sharing for a second, and then I will come back up when I have the prototype open.
While Kata is also sharing the screen, I would like also to remind you, let's say that in the questionnaire that we were sharing before, there will be specific questions also related to what Kata is presenting now. And then, I mean, we're going to have also an interactive session. So then, I mean, okay, I can see, Kata, that you are sharing again the screen, so please.
All right. So here we are in the prototype, and we are starting from the info page. As you can see, there is the header, there is some information text, and I shall say that we continue to go explore. First, we arrive to the recreational potential page. And as I know everyone here has great physical condition, we want to see what kind of hard recreationalist biodiversity there is to see. So here is the data and information provided for hard recreationalist. Then we could move into biodiversity. As you can see, here is the biodiversity map, and there are not yet chosen any specific type we want to see. But I would like to see bugs maybe this time. I hope this doesn't seem very far away. I will press a little closer to you. So here the map is now updated with the data on where some of these bugs or insects should be. And there has also appeared a species list down here. Unfortunately, I can't now show you the feature on if you would click here to show where the species would actually live in the map, but you will get the idea here. Last one would be the route planner. Here is just, you need to first upload your file here just to see something. This is just a default state for this, but when we would choose a file, it would download it here, show it visually, and then there would be the diagram showing showing the amount of recreational potential compared to distance along the road, and then maybe some statistics, and then maybe the animals. If I would like to share this with my other recreational friend, I could here share this first to myself or share it directly to her or somebody else. Yes, I will go back to the PowerPoint just a second here. So yeah, that was about it on my behalf. I thank you all for listening, and now I think it goes back to Rita.
Thank you, Kata, also for this live presentation. To all the attendees, I mean, we hope that you also got, the opportunity to understand a little bit better what we meant when at the very beginning we were talking about the prototype digital twin related to the ecosystem services. So while at the very beginning we were talking more about the theory, now, I mean, with Kata's presentation, we also understood a little bit better how we translated all the models, let's say, into something a little bit concrete, where you can also find the data that you can let's say, analyze. And actually now there will be a more interactive session on where we're gonna divide you on breakout rooms, where you will also talk with a facilitator and share any feedback. But before doing so, actually, I would like just to point out again your attention to the questionnaires, to the survey that we were presenting before. I hope that you can see my screen again. And actually here, again, there will be some questions very related to what Kata was presenting. And I don't know, Kata, if you want to say a couple of words here, because the idea here, again, is to really understand a little bit better what was the feeling of participants on the prototype, and then obviously we will really value your feedback here. I don't know, Kata, if you would like to add anything. Otherwise, I will move to the next part. Actually, here you will find some very general questions. For example, if the information page that you saw will really invite you to explore more this pDT, and as it was done also for in our previous cases, what in your opinion we should improve. And then, okay, here I have just, so let me just reshare again. I will just give you another example of another question that you might reply to. Sorry, I need to reshare my screen, got lost somehow. So for example, here again, we have another question that is related to the, I mean, here we would like to understand if the information presented on the recreational potential page is clear and useful. And here again, you can also let us know in case, I mean, you didn't find it very clear what we can improve. So you are gonna find very similar question to this one. I will just here press a number to go through the next slide, to the next question, sorry. Here again, it is about if the information that was presented on the biodiversity page is clear and interesting. And here again, you can put the number that you feel is more, let's say, close to the one that you were feeling. Then again, if the route planner page is easy to understand, and here again, we would really appreciate if you can share anything that we can improve. Anyway, if you cannot reply to all these questions right now, it is not a problem, because we will also keep this survey open in order also to gather a little bit more feedback. Sorry. And then we have the last two questions. One that, I mean, if you can also let us know if you, I mean, believe if our vision on building the biodiversity digital twin is really achievable or not. And I mean, and then again, you can also press, I mean, a number from 0 to 9. 0 if you believe that it is not achievable, 9 if it is. And then here again, if you can share the biggest problem that you can foresee in the sustainability also for the digital twin, that, I mean, we can also discuss and take into consideration for the future. With this, I don't want to take any more of your time because actually we are really starting the more interactive session. So I will just stop sharing now. And I believe that now my colleague Gabriela will also share here in the chat a mural board, actually. Okay, Gabriela already did it. So each of you will actually be divided in different breakout rooms. You will have a facilitator that will explain you what you should do. And yeah, good luck, I mean, with this more interactive part. In the last 20 minutes, we will really try to also share with you and summarize the feedback that we gathered. Maybe I will start because I have prepared a presentation, which hopefully you can see. Okay. So actually, what I was trying to understand are the feedback that we got actually from the questionnaire that we asked you to compile at the very beginning. And what I mean, the main recommendations that we got is that all the attendees feel that in general, the vision that we have for the biodiversity digital twin is generally achievable. So it doesn't seem to be something that is too theoretical, let's say. However, the models that we are developing are very specific. So most probably this can also pose some issues, especially for people that are not experts of these models. And the information page then that Kata was sharing is generally comprehensible. Here again, from the questionnaire, it came out that people were not really able to always understand all the technical aspects because I mean, the models are very specific very often, and if people are not experts in this field, then it was difficult for them to understand it. Maybe something that I would like to say is that in this particular workshop, we decided to focus on the ecosystem services prototype digital twin, but actually in BIODT, we are developing also other prototype digital twin. So the idea is that the structure that you will see here can be replicated in theory to any other models or any other prototype digital twins that you would like to build. So what we present you today is an example. We just don't want you to think that what we're gonna do is only this. This is actually only part of the work that we're carrying on. And in the next couple of months, you can also access all the other prototype digital twins and test them. So it is just, I mean, to assure you that, I mean, it was just a training session on this particular case. Maybe, okay, now I would like to pass the floor maybe to Simon and Christopher, just, I mean, to understand what you discussed in your room and what people felt overall.
So I can do it if you want, Simon. Be fine.
I'll chip in if I feel like.
Yeah, feel free to chip in when I'm listening. So I think, yes, what you just discussed. So one of the things that came out was that, you know, we might need to, in section 1, was think about our language and you know, to improve and increase accessibility to people, the general public, to make sure, you know, that our language is well explained, you know, the terms we use are well explained. So we covered that, and then we discussed a bit about how broad the groups should be, you know, and not to get maybe too focused or not to get too broad, and think about how you maybe split them out, because, you know, maybe based on ethnicity or age, and you know, there's wider ways of thinking about it. And I think that was mostly it. I think maybe just more information about the maps, and maybe the output is still a bit vague at the moment. But again, that comes down to, I think, improving our language and our terminologies. Would you say that summarized section 1, Simon? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Section 2, the main discussion really was about how we will manage the risks of advertising sensitive species in areas, which is something we've spoken about at other workshops, and we're still gathering information on the best way to deal with that. But one idea was that came from the group was that that we provide links or access to more information where you might have a rare species, so that a user who was thinking of going there can inform themselves on correct behaviors and kind of site management protocols and those kind of things, so they're not overly disturbing sensitive wildlife. I think there wasn't a lot of chat about section 3, but it seemed quite popular on the sliding scale. There are some sticky notes which I need to read, but I haven't, so I can't feed that back to you just yet, unless Simon remembered any of it off the top of his head. And I think, yeah, we only got to section 4 in the last few minutes, as was planned for the last few minutes, but I don't, without reading the sticky notes, I don't have a lot to say back to the group. Apologies.
No, it is okay. Thank you, Christopher. So then, I mean, I was also typing down some points that you were discussing now. So, for example, it was interesting that people were also saying that we should also put links to external resources, which isn't something that we have considered as of now. And also, I mean, the depth that we should consider in developing the models, because, I mean, it should be something that should be very understandable to people. It should be technical, but not too technical. So it was also a very valuable feedback. Thank you both really for also moderating this session. Maybe I will pass the floor maybe to Kata. Okay. If you want also to summarize a little bit what was discussed.
Sure. Well, in the section 1, there were good points about that the info page is maybe a little bit hard to understand for someone who is not really maybe a recreationalist researcher or someone. So it should be maybe downshifted more to people with less understanding. But about the recreational types, the 2 types were maybe not enough. There should be a 3rd one, maybe something in between. And I have to look through the notes here. But just dividing them to some type is a good thing, so that because there isn't just one kind of physical condition with recreationalist, you can't expect that the one recreationalist is a one that can also run a marathon here. There are many type of people here in this field. In the 2nd section, I guess valuable options were thought that they are valuable, or maybe a little unclear. But one comment was that it is liked. The part of this pDT, where something happened here in the mural board, but the biodiversity page would provide interesting stuff for curious recreationalists. And on the route planner, it is also liked feature here, and it is like good for putting in your own information and seeing what kind of stuff there is to see maybe beforehand or after your trip. I think that was mostly about it. We didn't we were having a little technical issues here, but overall it seems that at least one would be interested to use this app. So that's great, and will hopefully this pDT will gain many more users, and it will be useful for many recreationalists.
Thank you, Kata. And when it was also interesting what you said that, I mean, the app is really for people, I mean, that are experts in the field. And I mean, obviously, also, I mean, based on the feedback that we got also from the previous room from Christopher and Simon, we need to be very specific on this, but then at the same time, we should also be a little bit more general, otherwise people will not clearly understand what we would like to deliver. Thank you, Kata, really. Maybe now I will pass the floor to Thomas and Jan, that you were in the last room.
Yeah.
I don't know who would like. Okay, Thomas.
I will start. Yeah.
Okay.
So in our room, we had interesting conversations with Christoph and Tanya, mostly with Christoph because he's actually working in the Kärgården National Park with the camera traps. So there was kind of a lot of internal discussion with Jan on this part. But besides that, we discussed to some extent the first part. Okay, the info page, we haven't discussed that too much. There was just one thing that it's somehow hard to just say something about it when it's the static page, static photo screenshot, and you cannot somehow interact with it, and it's just a picture with some text, and it's kind of fine. But about the recreation potential map, there were some concerns about how to rightly provide, and these content, because while mostly researchers and technical people will have no problem with this color scale on the map and several map layers and so on, general public might not even know sometimes how to actually work with these or how to interpret them. So that is something we should take into consideration for sure. I seen in the sticky note that we also should consider that besides just walking, people can go on the mountain bike, they can do swimming, they can do climbing, running, and so on. And this is something to probably also to consider if you want to cater to more interested groups. And yeah, then we touch a little bit upon the third section where we were discussing that this looks pretty good, on showing them up, but the question is how to do it right when, for example, if we choose multiple groups, because if we have a lot of overlay layers of the rasters, then it gets really messy even for the technical people, not just for non-technical. But generally, it seems to be done in a good direction. One more thing that I now realized is that we also touched upon the issue that if we use these color scales, we need to take into consideration the colorblind people, what we are kind of trying to do with using the right palettes, but sometimes this is not enough. And Jan said that on some other meeting, there was, for example, suggestion of using like some kind of wide map and really, kind of just show the areas with the highest potential, something like that. So it's really contrasting, really something that you really can see. So, and we could probably do something like that with a click of a button, that you have really high contrast way how to see those things. And about the route planner, I think this was found like this could be a nice thing, but it needs to, we should probably find a way how to really make it different from all the available hiking apps that are around. What is the actual added value that is making it different, something along those ways. So Jan, you want to fill me?
No, I think that's excellent. We also had a useful comment about making what the paths are made of, if they are just earth paths or if they're gravel paths, or I think that's a good comment, and it's very relevant. And I agree with everyone who has said about the different personas, because today you may be a hard recreationalist, but tomorrow you've got your baby with you, so you're not so keen to climb up that mountain. And it ideally, you would be able to change the persona in your, such that you start by choosing one or two, so everything's parameterized for you, but then you customize it. Then we have to be careful because you need login information, and we have to be careful about who you are, etc. So there's a lot to be learned going forward and decisions to be made. But it's been brilliant today to get some other people's input. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan and Thomas. It was useful, and I mean, also I mean, the point that you said about the personas of people, I mean, that would be interested in accessing this training material, but also the fact that we should be also inclusive somehow when we are developing. I mean, and also considering the fact that not everyone. I'm referring to the comment of Thomas related to the colorblind, for example. That I mean was something that in the other rooms was not really covered, but somehow, I mean, it is also something that we should consider when developing apps and tools online. I'm not sure if anyone from the attendees would like also to raise her hand and maybe comment or share any feedback with us. You can raise your hand, so then I will see in case anyone would like to speak, and I will pass you the floor. Okay. It seems that, I mean, Simon, Christopher, Kata, Jan, and Thomas were summarizing very well all the discussions that you had. And I would like really to thank you again, all the attendees, for providing your feedback with us. It will really help us to also shape better the training platform, the Shiny app for the ecosystem services prototype digital twin, but also others. I also take this opportunity also to let you know that very soon, in a couple of weeks, the Shiny app will be released. It will be accessible online. So in case you would like also to explore it a little bit in more details, you can also do so. Feel free, I mean, to visit our website and also our social media channel, because as soon as the Shiny app is ready, we will inform you. We hope, I mean, that anyway was informative, this workshop. And in case you would like to share any feedback with us, we will keep the questionnaire open. So feel free, I mean, to also, I mean, after the Shiny app will be launched, in case you have any comments that you would like to share with us, you can always do so by compiling the questionnaire that we have prepared and presented to you at the very beginning of this workshop. With this, I would like to thank again all the speakers for joining the workshop, for helping organizing it and being with us today, and all the attendees for being with us in the last 2 hours. And okay, the last thing, okay, that I see that Cosimo is another colleague from BIODT, is actually copying here in the chat the link for the training platform. So all the resources that are related to training, and also, for example, all the materials that you have seen today will be available on the training platform. I believe, Cosimo, you would like to also present it now. Please, I believe that you can unmute yourself.
Yes, and you should also hopefully seeing my screen. Well, everyone should be seeing my screen.
Yes.
This is what Rita was mentioning. This is the BIODT training platform. So all the contents that BIODT project will develop are going to be hosted here. And as for today, this is the resource that is being developed regarding the workshop today. The link is in the chat, and you can resort and refer to this link and to this resource to access once more, even after the end of the meeting, the PowerPoint presentations that the speakers used today, We will also upload in the coming days the video recordings of the sessions, or better, the presentations. Obviously, we won't upload anything that relates to breakout rooms or any of the participants' comments today. We will only have the video presentations of the speakers. And you have also here the link to the prototype layout that Kata presented, and the link to the questionnaire, the workshop questionnaire that was used throughout the workshop today. So that, I believe, Rita, remains open. So even if people, participants wants to provide inputs and comments afterwards, they can, through the resource, go back to presentations and various parts of the workshop, and then provide the inputs at the end. So this is it for the workshop today. But you have like the entire training platform, as I was showing you earlier, for the BioDT project, for all the other resources, and we have already webinars that were delivered previously to present the main approach and the project. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Cosimo, also for promoting the training platform. So yeah, people, I mean, all the attendees, you can visit it, learn something more about BioDT, and yeah, hopefully we will see each other again in one of our next workshops or events that we will organize. And I wish all of you a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye. Thank you again for joining.
Bye.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.